The Lords of the Long Box. This is a special news edition, news flash. I'm going to break in and just talk about this real fast since we're probably going to get inundated with questions tomorrow during our live show, and we're doing a collector series, and I've already been asked about it a lot today. So I'm going to give you guys what I know, and man, Mikey Sutton gave us some information on this as well. So let's get right to it, boys and girls.
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God.
Somebody show me something. Hold on and get some, boys.
That is why they
Happy Top Variant Tuesday to all the YouTubenites and long boxers out there, all the long comic spec guys. Thank you for joining me. I thought I'd just jump on right in. Say what's up to everybody in the live chat real fast while people gather around. Pops Foster, shout out to you. JLS Comics. Alex Perez, pop culture fan beyond the blast doors. Hey man, we got to talk about that Star Wars trailer, but maybe on another episode. But I was pretty stoked last night for that Star Wars trailer. I don't know about you, man, but yeah, I got goosebumps all over. I think a grown man did start a little tear up a little bit. Seeing the C3PO saying that stuff really got to me, man. But I always told you, like, we have a show every Wednesday, but if I felt something was newsworthy, I'd break in on your regularly scheduled programming and drop some stuff on you to try to head it off at the pass, because tomorrow, make sure you guys join us, man. Tomorrow is what we like to call the collector series. We don't have a Black Knight report or any Mikey Sutton scoops. We're just going to talk about comic book collecting. The comic collector series is all about what you guys questions about. Last week we talked about, or the last episode 2 weeks ago, we talked about speccing comics, when to flip them, when to buy them, when's the correct time to sell them. Tomorrow we're going to go over variants with my man Justin, the variant whore. We're going to talk about variants, the timing of getting them, who is the hot artist, and combinations of such, ratios, and all that good stuff. And if you have anything else, leave it in the comment below after the video post, and we'll talk about different things you would want us to discuss tomorrow about comic book collecting as a whole. So hopefully there won't be any questions about Jeph Loeb tomorrow. I'm trying to cut this off at the pass today. So as usual with any big stories, boys and girls.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
That's right. That can only mean one thing. We got breaking news, boys and girls. So this is coming from my man, Mikey Sutton. If you didn't know, the stories was popped today from, I think, Variety reported it first, and then the Hollywood Reporter reported second. Shout out to our man, Daniel RPK, who was in the live chat last Wednesday, who actually said Jeph Loeb would be retiring by the end of the year. So you guys got that scoop from him last week, and he knew that in advance. But I'm getting this from our man, Mikey Sutton. Mikey Sutton says, per Variety, Jeph Loeb is stepping down as the head of Marvel Television. His official resignation is expected by Thanksgiving. The Hollywood Reporter has added that Loeb had been prepping to leave well before October 15th, news that Kevin Feige had been elevated to Marvel's chief creative officer. So Hollywood Reporter is saying Kevin Feige had planned on leaving even before the Kevin Feige announcement was made. So that's pretty interesting. This is completely in line with what Mikey Sutton had previously reported of Loeb not being fired. Comicbook.com, Comic Book Movies, and others previously stated, just like Mikey Sutton did, that the plans were to have Loeb keep his position and simply answer to Feige. I think comicbook.com tweeted out that with Feige taking over all the creative process, that Jeph Loeb from Marvel TV would be reporting to Kevin Feige. Obviously, Loeb felt differently, according to several insiders I know. This is Mikey Sutton saying this. The second part of this is Stephen Wacker, creative and content development VP at Marvel Entertainment, is being looked at as Loeb's replacement. But with Feige's ascendancy, it remains to be seen if the position is still the same. So they're looking to get Stephen Wacker, who is already a VP of content over at Marvel, to take over Jeph Loeb's position, and he would directly report to Kevin Feige. Hulu, and this is more importantly, a lot of people ask me about this and how this would affect the Marvel TV stuff since we've been talking about the Hulu and the horror stuff. Hulu is still pushing forward with their horror programs, but more closely tied in with the MCU from what I heard today, end quote. That's what Mikey Sutton, that I just read that. You can find that on Geekosity. Mikey Sutton reported that today, and he gave it to me as exclusive and said, go ahead and run with it, Tim. And a source from his says, quote, Runaways is a hit. Hellstrom has huge potential. They'll do both live and animation. Loeb hasn't signed anywhere yet, but they're interested in him for the DC universe. They love what he did for Netflix and Legion with smaller budgets. End quote. That's a source that Mikey Sutton got for that little chunk of information. That's the important. This other part of this is where I've been trying to find out is where Mikey Sutton is going. And I had some conversations with Daniel RPK earlier today, and he's saying that he's hearing something else. And I also heard from someone else that there's possibly an offer for for Jeph Loeb on the table. So he may have competing offers, but regardless, DCU wants him. They're eyeing him. If he hasn't already made up his mind, I'm pretty sure it sounds like DC Universe would like to make him an offer to head up their programming, either the DC Universe or HBO Go, wherever it ends up. If you remember, Jeph Loeb did a lot of stuff for DC. Most of them, famously, he did the Hush storyline, The Long Halloween. I think Jim Lee was the actual artist on Hush. I don't forget, but I know Jeph Loeb both wrote Hush and The Long Halloween. So that's interesting to go where that is. So there's a lot of moving parts right now. So a lot of this is set in motion when, I think when Kevin Feige took place, but it sounds like Jeph Loeb maybe had one foot out the door. I don't know. Maybe pulling Ghost Rider was just the thing that just ended it. Remember they pulled New Warriors from him as well. For all his hits, he's had a lot of misses too. I mean, if you think about Inhumans, to me, Iron Fist was a miss in season 1. Season 2, half of it was okay. I think Luke Cage was okay. The real hits that he got was Daredevil seasons 1, 2, and 3. I think Legion is success. I think Runaways and Cloak and Dagger have been success in the YA crowd, meaning young adults. I think they really like those shows, and it's a shame because we got a large crossover event that's happening for Hulu this season with Cloak and Dagger and Runaways and Morgan Le Fay. I mean, they're going good places. So Kevin Feige is going to head up all of Marvel TV and Marvel Studios. So, it's hard. I would imagine it's hard for him to run the day-to-day of Marvel TV. So what we're hearing, the key part of this is Stephen Wacker, who is the VP of Content and Entertainment. What is this exact title anyway? I'm sorry. It's like one of those long VP titles. Creative and Content Development VP at Marvel Entertainment. Here's a good thing if he does take over Marvel TV. A lot like Jeph Loeb, Stephen Wacker comes from a comic book background. So it'd be nice to see somebody who was an editor in the Marvel comics, step into a role as doing the development of the Marvel TV stuff. So is Marvel TV dead? Is it truly gone? The Jeph Loeb version of it, I think so. At least Jeph Loeb won't be seeing where it's going, but from what I asked Mikey Sutton about this. I said, is Spirits of Vengeance still in play? He said, yes. I said, is the Hulu horror stuff still in play? He said, yes. So they still want to move forward. There's a lot of good things that Jeph Loeb has done. Arguably, his biggest misstep was the Inhumans. That was awful. That was a giant misstep of epic proportions, and I blame Scott Buck for that, to be honest with you. Scott Buck is a horrible showrunner. Scott Buck is the one that drove the last 2 seasons of Dexter into the ground and destroyed it. Scott Buck was also the showrunner of Iron Fist, so there you go. Sometimes you just have bad showrunners, and there's not much you could do with it. So that's it. I just wanted to come in and tell you guys I've been asking. A lot of people have been asking about it. I'll try to answer whatever questions. Yeah, you know what? I'll admit it. Jeff Graham G says, I thought Loeb was meant to be staying and Marvel TV was staying, as according to you guys a few weeks ago. What I thought, and I was wrong. We thought that he would at least be staying on till the end of the year, and I was wrong. There's a lot of other sites that also thought he would be staying on, but shout out to my man Daniel RPK from Twitter, who actually in the live chat last week said that Loeb would be retiring by the end of the year. And now we're hearing that it's going to be by Thanksgiving, he's going to be stepping down from Marvel TV. So, unfortunately, sometimes things are always subject to change. I wonder if this was accelerated by the announcement that Kevin Feige made, although they said that had nothing to do with it. And now reports are coming out that Loeb had already made up his decision before Feige was announced as the new God to rule them all over at Marvel. He's going to be Sauron. He's going to be the eye looking over anything. So let me see if there's any other questions here I can answer before I go and watch the NBA season just kicked off and the World Series. Great time to be a fan. As a Redskin fan, I can honestly say I'm happy that basketball season is starting. And as a Warriors fan, I can't wait till baseball spring training is right around the corner. Got anything about Deadpool 3? I think we talked about that before. So I knew once I get live in here, people are going to start asking me questions about stuff. The last thing I heard that we can talk about is that Venom 3 was going to be using the Maximum Carnage storyline. And that was from the 4-part scoop we did last week, along with 3 Buck Theater and Pete's Basements. Go peep that out. Well, I'll try to do a recap. You know what? I'll do it right now since we're here. You guys are getting the bonus right now, boys and girls. So sit tight. Let me log in, and I'm going to give you guys all 4 parts of the scoop that we dropped. So basically, last Saturday I dropped part 4 of the Multiverse Scoop. So I'm going to read it all over again. So for those of you who missed it, I'm going to read it right now, and I'm going to put up a graphic just so you guys don't see me read, since it's I move my lips when I read. No, I'm just kidding. But let me give you something here. You know what? I'm going to give you guys the bonus points, man. I'm going to give you guys here you go. I am going to read the Mikey Sutton Multiverse Scoop from last week, all 4 parts. All right, boys and girls, let me get a drink of water. Talk amongst yourselves. Mikey Sutton Report, the Multiverse Scoop. Part 1. Whew. Endgame was never the end. It was only the beginning. With WandaVision on Disney Plus and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the MCU is stepping towards Secret Wars. You like that? I'm giving you guys the deep throat voice. Oh, yeah. First, Spider-Man is being penciled in to appear in Venom 3. For the moment, there are few options in play here, dependent on corporate deals, meaning if Disney's going to buy Sony or not, or at least Spider-Man rights. Disney wants Kevin Feige to produce the meeting between the 2 characters. If that is the case, the movie will be called Venom 3, as Marvel Studios does not release villain films, or wants Sony's previous movies on the character to exist within the MCU. A compromise would be that Venom is not a villain at all, leaning more towards the anti-hero direction aimed for in his solo debut in the MCU. Blade will also be seen as an anti-hero in the MCU, so it would be consistent with that. Spider-Man will team up with Venom against a mutual foe, most likely Carnage. In order for Feige to be involved, Disney and Sony must negotiate for this movie, which is what they have been discussing anyway. In return to the table, for more collaborations, or Disney does purchase the Spider-Man intellectual properties, which is what they want to do. Remember, we talked about that number, anywhere between $3 and $5 billion for the rights to Spider-Man. If Feige is not producing, this will not be the Spider-Man in the MCU. Hold on. If Feige is not producing, this will not be the Spider-Man in the MCU, even though Tom Holland is still playing him. Rather, it's Spider-Man in a parallel universe with no reference to the MCU. If Feige is involved, the film will be in the MCU with a possible twist. Spider-Man is going to travel to another universe in which Sony's Venom exists. This opens the multiverse to Sony's world and Spider-Verse in general. Sound confusing? That is the predicament Marvel Studios is in. They are trying to thread the narrative together, but really can't push forward until deals are rock solid. So remember, right now, the only deal in place is for 2 films, one in the MCU and one Sony produced film. Part 2 of the scoop. Marvel Studios wants Spider-Verse to tie in with the Secret Wars movies. I use plural because they feel this needs to be parts. I use plural because they feel this needs to be in parts with the cinematic and TV spinoffs. For the moment, they are discussing using the title Battle Worlds, as I dropped last Saturday on my scoop. The Spider-Verse itself will be a battle world, a planet of symbiotes. Together, a deal must be in place for this to connect with Secret Wars. Part 3. Sony loves the idea of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield meeting Tom Holland. It's a mind-blowing meeting, but artistically, it has to make sense as well. Talks are for a cameo. However, it might lead into more it might lead into more than as of the writing as this hasn't begun yet. In a planet of battle world of symbiotes, God darn. Okay, let me look. In a planet of battle world symbiotes, would one Spider-Man be enough to fight them all? God, question marks are important. I should have read that with the question mark. And if you didn't, my part was part 4. Marvel TV shows will reference their cinematic counter. Let me try that again. Marvel TV shows have referenced their cinematic counterparts without completely participating in them. Mikey Sutton says, my colleague, the Black Knight, and I, Mikey Sutton, joined together in reports for the Lords of the Long Box during this past summer about how the TV shows would be involved in Secret Wars. I'm hearing that among battle worlds will essentially be hell on earth with Mephisto unleashing the Marvel zombies on the spirits of vengeance. This will be for Hulu, it'll be dark, and it'll be R-rated. This is all completely early in the process, and nobody knows how much of this remain intact. But that's the bones of which the meat will be harvested. Galactus and Doctor Doom will be in the center of it all, with other villains like the Mandarin and the Red Skull on the side. This is ambitious epic with so many moving pieces, and that's it. So that's the whole enchilada, you may say. So if you remember, we talked about this kind of Secret Wars thing about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's going to be following more of the Hickman version of Secret Wars, which is, if you remember, that's Battle Worlds. So we're talking phases 4, 5, and 6, way out another 8 years, maybe 9 years, but that's the general idea of where they want to go. And so that's the giant scoop that we dropped over the weekend as all 4 parts. If you can see from Pete's Basement and 3 Buck Theater dropped the other parts, I dropped the 4th part. And so that's why actually it ties into what's going on today, because a lot of the stuff that I drop has to do with Marvel TV. Oh, let me take off my shield now, since you don't have epic, sexy broadcaster voice. And that's where you see right now. So, yeah, so I put that thing up because I was reading. So Deadpool, look up, go fuck off. But anyway, that's it. That's all 4 parts. So I'm just killing some time. So hopefully that answers your question. So next week tomorrow, we don't have to talk about it. Next week, we're going to have a collector series. We're going to have my man, Justin Otto, and we'll get Manimal back here, talk about the collector series. Going to be talking about collecting comics tomorrow, specifically about variants, when to pick them up, where to pick them up, how to tell what's a good artist, good ratio, good covers, things along that natures. Are the Russos coming back to direct? Probably, eventually, I would see down the road. I mean, the Russo brothers basically have producing credits now. That's how most films work. If you notice, Jon Favreau is still a producer on Marvel films, because any of the characters they've done in the past, and they continue. I think the only one that doesn't get a producer credit is maybe the director of the first Thor. You no longer see his names attached to it, but that's it, man. So I hope that addresses it. So basically, Jeph Loeb is leaving. We're hearing Stephen Wacker may be taking over as head of Marvel TV, reporting directly to Kevin Feige. And also what we're hearing is that the Hulu stuff is still in play. Things are always subject to change. But, like I said, there's a lot of people that really enjoy Runaways, and they also enjoy Cloak and Dagger. So, I mean, if Kevin Feige did just end that, you know how many jobs that kills? Not only the directors, but the cast, the crew of everything, of everybody. Oh man, look at that. Where's that blood coming from? I just started bleeding on myself. I feel like a blade or something. That's a trip. But anyway, thanks, guys. We will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific for Collector Series not version 2, but issue number 2. And we'll go from that. And thanks for joining me right now. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Go post Top Variant Tuesday on Instagram and tag your boy TiVo. And until then, we'll see you tomorrow, man. So please join us, man. I really enjoy these shows tomorrow. We're not going to be talking about any type of speculation, movie news, or any of that. Just four guys talking about comic book and comic book collecting. Hopefully a lot of you newer collectors will join it, because we try to give out information that's beneficial to people that have been in the game for a while and brand new collectors. So hopefully you'll join us. Till next time, boys and girls, keep digging in them long boxes. Peace out.
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God. Somebody show me something. Hold on and get some, boys.
That is why they come big.
Here come the boss, here come the boss, here come the boss, here come the boss, here come the boss.
What you thinking about that Star Wars trailer yesterday?